This video is to help you convert measurement. We're going to start off with capacity, the customary unit. In order to help you remember these conversions, I encourage you to always draw that big G we learned in class. This G stands for a gallon. Then inside our gallon we drew 4 Q's to show that in each gallon 4 quarts would fit. Inside our Q's we drew 2 P's to represent that it takes 2 pints to make a quart. Then if we just use our picture and count them up, we can see that it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints to make a gallon, to fill up a gallon. And the last thing we want to add is 2 C's inside of our P's. The C stands for cups, so this will show us that it takes 2 cups to fill up a pint. If you were to count all of this up, you could see that it takes 16 cups to make a gallon. And you can quiz yourself with this drawing, say things like, how many cups are in a quart? And you'd count up the C's inside the Q, and you'd say that 4 cups make a quart. So now let's try to convert. Oh, I'm sorry. So now let's talk about length real quick. We also know that there are 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 5,280 feet in a mile, 1,760 yards in a mile. So those are things that we have to memorize in order to do our conversions. So our first conversion, we're going to say, how many quarts are in 4 gallons? And the first step to this is to write down what you already know. So think to yourself, what do I already know about gallons and quarts? Well, I drew that big G, so I know that 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. That's the first step. The second step is you're going to point towards what you're trying to figure out. So I'm starting here and I'm going to there. So I do the same in the bottom. I'm starting here and I'm going that way. So using that point, we have to decide, is this getting bigger or smaller? We're going this way. I'm going from a 1 to a 4. So I know it's getting bigger, so I'm going to be multiplying. And then I need to figure out multiplying by what? If I have 1 and I'm trying to get to 4, I think 1 times what gives me 4? 1 times 4 gives me 4. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top. So 4 times 4 is 16. So my answer to how many quarts are in 4 gallons is 16. And I can draw this out to check, but it just takes a little bit longer. There's my first gallon, second, third, and fourth. 4 gallons is 16 quarts. So you can also use the same thing when you're dealing with length. So here we have 3 feet, and we want to know how many inches that is. So the first step is to write down what I already know. So I'm thinking, what do I know about feet and inches? Well, I know that 1 foot equals 12 inches. So my next step is to draw an arrow or point with my hand. I'm starting here and I'm going this way. So I'm going to come down here. I'm starting here and I'm going this way. So I need to think to myself, are these numbers getting bigger or smaller? I'm starting at the 1 and I'm going to the 12. So that means they're getting bigger. That means I have to multiply. 1 times what gives me 12? 12. 1 times 12 gives me 12. So I need to do the same thing to the top. So I'm thinking 3 times 12 is 36, and I've just solved my problem. 3 feet is the same thing as 36 inches. You can also go a different way. This is an example of a division problem. So I have 60 inches, and I want to know how many feet that is. So the first thing is I need to write down what I already know. Well, I know that in 1 foot there are 12 inches, but I always have to keep the feet on the same side and the inches lined up on the same side. Then I'm going to point. I'm going from here to here. I'm going from here to here. So I started with a 12 and I went to a 1, so my numbers are getting smaller. That means I need to divide. 12 divided by 12 equals 1. So I have to do the same thing to the top. 60 divided by 12 equals what? 5. We're going to try another one with cups and gallons. I have 32 cups how many gallons would that be? So first thing is I need to write down what I already know. Well, if I drew that big G or looked at the first one we drew, I would know that 16 cups are in 1 gallon. And I have the gallons lined up on the same side and the cups. So my next step is I need to point towards where I'm going. I'm going this way. I'm going this way. So I'm looking at the 16 and the 1. I'm going from 16 to 1. Well, that's getting smaller, so I need to divide. 16 divided by what equals 1? 16. So I have to do the same thing to the top. 32 divided by 16 is 2. So there are 32 cups in 2 gallons. That's how you convert measurement. Thanks for listening.